Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 141, which is crazy, of the Diet Diaries. I'm super excited. I have a really special guest today. I'm so grateful for her time. And um, I'm talking with Marnie Rabinovitch, and she is the CEO and anti-chafing champion of Thigh Society. And if you guys know me at all, you know that I'm obsessed with the Thigh Society shorts. They are the kind of slip shorts that you can wear. I wear them under dresses. I actually just started wearing them to work out, so they're kind of multi-purpose, and they are literally a game changer in terms of getting dressed, wearing clothes you want to wear, feeling comfortable, kind of physically and emotionally and mentally. And so I'm so grateful to have you here to talk about the product and your life and why you created them and all the things. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I'd love to hear about is what happened in your life, or what were you hearing about that gave you the idea, and what was it like to create these?
Ooh, okay. So the short answer is I needed a comfortable long leg underwear that wasn't shapewear, and I couldn't find it on the market.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't say I've ever identified as a plus size person, but I certainly had struggles with weight throughout my life, and I've been various sizes ranging from a size 6 to a size almost 14. And no matter what size I was, my thighs always touched. And that was always problematic for me in the summer. I could never wear short shorts. I had to wear bicycle shorts underneath all of my skirts and dresses. And ultimately, it was one summer in 2008 where I was walking on my lunch break at my then government job. And I live in Toronto, and it is very cold most of the year here. We get about 3, 4 months of summer, and we basically skip spring.
Okay.
So on in this first week of June, I had put on a dress that morning, completely forgetting about my trusty bike shorts that I would normally wear underneath every single skirt and dress, because it had been basically a year since I had last worn them. And so I'm walking at lunch on this hot day, and suddenly my thighs start burning. They start rubbing together and burning, and I'm like, oh God, like, how could you have forgotten those shorts? So I ran to the nearest pharmacy, and obviously they don't sell clothes there, but I ran to the baby powder section, got some baby powder, and then waddled back to my office, and sprinkled the baby powder on my thighs, because that was like that was like a last resort solution.
Yeah.
And of course, I was wearing a black dress, and the powder got everywhere, and it was like a hot mess. And I just sort of, shook my fist in the air, like, there has to be a better way, you know? Like, I'm tired of this. So I really spent the rest of the summer looking for an undergarment that I had been searching for effectively all my life. I had just accepted until that point that I could wear a ratty pair of bike shorts that was, like spandexy, thick, heavy. I
Mhm.
mean, but they were the best I could find. So I started asking friends if they had any solutions. Most people were doing hack jobs, cutting pantyhose, cutting long johns, wearing men's boxer briefs, putting on creams and gels and deodorants and all that, which, by the way, are fine. But on me, they last like 10 minutes. I guess I'm like
Yeah.
a sweaty beast because I have to keep
Same.
reapplying. And I thought, why isn't there a long leg underwear? Like, why do men get boxer briefs in a million different leg lengths?
Mhm.
But if a woman wants a long leg undergarment, she has to squeeze into shapewear. And I really resented that. I had a complicated relationship with shapewear, I would say, and still do. And I'm not anti shapewear in any way, but I was really focused on the summer weather. And the last thing anyone wants to do when it's, a million degrees outside is, number one, try to get those things on.
Mhm.
Never mind going to the bathroom and taking them off. But they squeeze you in. They're hot. They're not breathable. You feel like a sausage. They're the last thing you want to put on in warm weather. And
Mhm.
I literally just wanted a long leg undergarment to wear underneath my skirts and dresses. And so that's pretty much how the idea started. I looked high and low. I pounded the pavement here, looking for, every single specialty boutique, all the way up to big department stores, for this sort of magical underwear that I was looking for, and couldn't find it. Then I started looking online. I mean, the internet was completely different back in
Right.
2008 than it is now. But even then, there was really not much. I found a few yoga shorts, and nothing was really fitting the bill for what I was looking
Mhm.
for. And that's sort of how I embarked on the journey to start Thigh Society.
I think you know what? Hang on, I have to shut my air conditioner off.
No problem.
Okay, it's real life. I think what you said about the options were basically regular underwear or shapewear.
Yeah.
And it's like giving people the choice, right? If shapewear feels good for you and that's what you wanna wear, great, but there needs to be another option. And it's like the absence of that option says so much.
Right? It does. And the other thing is when I was looking for a short like this, interestingly, the only closest thing I could find was from a select few plus size brands that were catering to a size 18 plus.
Okay.
And I really thought that said a lot as well. That
Mhm.
thigh chafe was so taboo and so stigmatized as being
Yep.
correlated to weight, as if it was like the worst thing that could happen to you. And oh, you must have to lose weight. I was really resentful about that, and I was
Yes.
really like, for me, that was the beginning of understanding the fat phobia that exists in our society, and I
Mhm.
was like, "This is not related to weight." I know, and through my research and as I started talking to people, I would find out women who were size 0 to 2 telling me, "Yes, my thighs chafe, I hate
Yes.
it." And women
Yes.
who were size 22 who are like, I don't know what you're talking about. My thighs rub, but I've never had chafe before." And so it's this complete misconception that we have in our society, even today, 14 years later,
Yes.
that chafing has to do with weight and that it should be stigmatized. It's a totally normal skin condition. Like we
Yes.
put deodorant on under our arms
Right.
every morning, right? Presumably to prevent sweat and BO. So guess
Right.
what? You sweat between your thighs. You want to put a fabric barrier there. Great.
Yes.
Nothing to talk about here, nothing to see
No.
here. Let's
And
move
it's
on.
totally normal for thighs to rub together. Like,
Yes.
our body
Yes.
parts, our skin, bellies fold and things rub. Like, that's just how human bodies move
How human
and
bodies move. And
exist.
yes.
And
Yes.
it's just such like a it's just it's in a way, it seems like so obvious, but it's not because we're just, we're there's so much stigma against it. And
Correct.
there's, an idealized body that we're shown from a very young age is like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is what a woman's female human body looks like." And it's like,
Mhm.
what? That's actually not even possible except for
Possible.
maybe, certain people, right? Certain genetics, yes, but
Yes.
there's such a huge variety and it normalizes something that we have always felt a lot of shame over. And I remember, like, I would get terrible chafing and be afraid and have to think about, well, can I wear this dress on this day for this long? And I don't think I
Oh, yeah.
can. And like and then it's like you feel bad. You feel like there's something wrong with you. And this
Totally.
product like takes that away. And it's like
Yes.
miraculous.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, that you really hit the nail on the head. Like, I wanted to give women wardrobe freedom, like
Yes, that's
similar to
it.
you,
Great.
right? Like, if I look back to all my vacations to hot places before I developed Thigh Society,
Huh?
you can bet I was never wearing a dress during the daytime. I
Right.
always had on a pair of leggings, like crop leggings, and then like a sporty look because I could never go bare-legged. It was just
Yeah.
not an option for me. And
Yeah.
wearing skirts during the day with my bike shorts, like, I didn't always like the look. Like the bike shorts were also hot and like they could
Yeah.
I wore a lighter dress. I mean, forget having a beige option in a bike short, like,
Right.
or a skin colored, whatever. But no, I mean, I was just like, why? I see all these other women wearing whatever they wanted, who obviously didn't have thigh chafing or
Mhm.
ignored it or whatnot. And I'm like, I want to be able to wear dresses on trips too during the day and travel and have all these cute pictures. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just I was mentioning this before we kind of hopped on the recording, is that I can't think of another w product, I don't know ever, but especially within women's clothing, whatever, like,
Mhm,
the
mhm,
category is,
mhm.
that is about, like, functionality and making you feel better in your body, not about changing the way that you look and changing
Right.
aesthetics, right? This is not
Yes.
about aesthetics, this is about comfort, this is about, I mean, f freedom
Yeah.
and just not feeling distracted, right? So you can be present and do what you're doing and put this on and go out to whatever it is that you're doing without feeling, oh my God, my thighs are chafing. I used to put powder in my purse so I could go to the bathroom and rub it on halfway through. Like,
Totally.
what? Like, it's ridiculous.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, and I mean, that's the part that I'm the most passionate about, right?
Yeah.
It's we've never been a shapewear brand. I never set out to develop shapewear. Again, I'm
Mhm.
not anti-shapewear, but there's plenty of companies
Yeah.
offering shapewear out there and it's such a personal decision to wear shapewear
Yes.
and the decision comes with all kinds of, I guess, consequences about how you're going to feel in it, good or bad, right? Some
Mhm.
people feel great in shapewear, but the actual garments pressing on their stomach doesn't make them feel good.
Right.
And when I started Thigh Society, I was very cognizant of the fact that I wanted this to feel like a no brainer. Like, just put the shorts on and move on with your day.
Yes.
we have so many more important things to be thinking about that
Mhm.
self-objectification, right? And focusing our attention inwards just takes us away from all the other important things we could be thinking, doing, problem solving, all of that.
Yes.
So I was very intentional in terms of, when we were designing these garments from the get-go. And we've been asked over the years by some customers to say, "Hey, can you just add a little bit of shaping in like the tummy area? Or it would be great if you had a shapewear option." And I've just it never has felt it's never felt on brand and it's
Yeah.
never felt right. And so that's why we haven't done it.
Yeah. And that I appreciate you sharing that because I'm sure that's not easy as a business owner, right? There's a
No,
potential business opportunity to
for
maybe
sure.
make more money, but
Right?
it's not true to what you stand for. And
No.
that's hard to find. Like that's really powerful. And I could see that there's a lot of shaper options out there, right? And it feels good to have a brand that is not about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, by default, I mean, you've tried our products. They are second skin fitting, so they will
Mhm.
provide some quote unquote light smoothing.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily their goal. I mean, people sleep in these shorts.
Mhm.
People wear these when they're pregnant. People wear them post surgery in the hospital under those awful gowns with open backs. Like,
Yes.
so this is a comfort undergarment. It's not going to bag or sag on you, but it's
Right.
also not going to make you feel compressed in a way that
Right.
distracts you from living your life or being comfortable.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, that's the thing. I have a very distinct memory about shapewear of being at a friend's wedding. This was, I don't know, almost 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was in the summer, and they were, the kind of typical strapless bridesmaid dress fitted on top with the zipper. And we were all wearing shapewear underneath.
Mhm.
And I remember it was very like high waisted. It got so uncomfortable at one point. We went and cut like with scissors, like cut it because we couldn't breathe.
Oh my
Um,
god.
right. And it's like, okay, well, do I get a dress that fits the way it fits my natural body, or do I get a smaller size and have to wear shapewear and it pushes my stomach in and compresses my organs and then I can't breathe
Oh
and then
my
I
god.
get gas pain and like
Right?
right, it is. It's and look, there's different ranges of compression. Again, to your point, like I'm all for autonomy. So if putting on a piece of shapewear makes you feel more comfortable in your own
Mhm.
skin,
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
I just don't want people to feel like physically in pain because of it, right? That's the whole
No.
other piece of it. So
No.
anyway.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah, yeah. So what was it like you come up with this idea, which is
Mhm.
amazing. What was it like to I don't know if you got funding or how that worked, but what was the response in terms of coming up with a product that wasn't about aesthetics and
Mhm.
shapewear
Mhm.
in like within
Mhm.
this category?
Mhm. So fun times. Yeah, here I was when I had this idea in 2008, I was 32 years old. And my background until that point, I'd been working for about 10 years in corporate jobs. I worked for a big consulting firm doing consulting, training and development, HR strategy, like nothing to do with garment manufacturing, e-commerce. I knew nothing, and nor did I consider myself to be like somebody particularly interested in fashion. But I was looking for a bit of challenge in my life and my career at that point.
Okay.
So I approached this like a side project or a side hobby, although I resented the word hobby at the time. So at 32, I took 6 months off. I did quit my then government job. I was there for 2 years just to sort of um, hit the ground running with finding a factory here in Toronto that could manufacture these shorts that I had conjured up in my mind. And I did quite a bit of market research as well. I did some online surveys. I was talking to pretty much everyone I knew, asking them if they experienced thigh chafe, if, what were their solutions, if they
Mhm.
could wave their magic wand and create an underwear, an undergarment, what would that look like? And so I spent 6 months developing the product and getting prototypes, at which point I realized this is going to be a while before I can launch and a while before I'm going to make any money.
Okay.
And I think I can do this while working full time. So that's when I went back to the workforce as a career coach at
Okay.
a big university here in Toronto. And it was supposed to be like a 2-year thing. I thought, you know what? I'll get Thigh Society launched and I'll stay for 2 years working, getting my income, and then I'll go full time. But 2 years turned into 7 years because, yeah, that's how funny how life goes. Because I was enjoying my job. I mean, I was coaching MBA students. I was helping, many students change their careers completely. And here I was embarking on a career change myself in
Yeah.
real time, working on the business. And I liked the stability of a full time job. I liked the stability of a paycheck. And I was enjoying my work. And so I also, because I was such a reluctant entrepreneur, which I call myself, and I liked security and predictability and routine, which is none of the things you get as an
No.
entrepreneur. I was leading this double life where I was working full time, and then I had this business on the side. And I didn't want to raise money. To your point earlier, I
Okay.
thought I'm super risky. I'm going to self fund, and I didn't mention this, but I did start the business with about $8,000
Okay.
Canadian, which is
Okay.
like $5,000 American.
Wow. Okay.
And it would have cost a lot less now. Most of that money was actually spent on a web designer
Okay.
because back then, Shopify, which is the e-commerce platform that we use to sell our products,
Okay.
was really just like a checkout, an online checkout tool. It wasn't a full blown website. Nowadays, you can go online, pay $30, and pretty much have an out of the box website ready to go and start selling product with a
Wow.
logo and whatnot. Yeah, so it would have been a lot less than that. And then I think about $2,000 was inventory. So I
Okay.
started with a little bit of money and then found that in the first year we were already, I say we, but it was just me at that time. I was already profitable and I thought, okay, this is fun. Like I can learn the ropes of this business, grow it really slowly in a controlled way where I'm not borrowing money. And I can do it my way and just, see
Okay.
how that goes. And so
Okay.
I took that slow approach to growth for 7 years, pretty much,
Wow.
while I was working. Yeah, which is not the usual story that you hear from
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, but I think people have to follow their own path and what they're comfortable with. And I was quite frankly terrified of doing this as my full-time job. What business did I have running a business
Mhm.
in shorts, like in underwear, like and even the thought of going overseas to manufacture or hiring people, it was very scary. And so I really took my time and I think I was able to do that because quite frankly, no one else was doing it. I couldn't figure it out. Every day I was waiting for another brand to come out
Yes.
with these shorts. I'm like, these are not that complicated. Like, why won't any of the big brands produce this? But I guess it was meant to be, right? It was meant to be that Thigh Society would come in and make these. There's
Yeah.
actually a funny story. I left this out, but one of the early stories that I love to tell about the summer of 2008 when I was sort of contemplating whether or not to do this, like to quit my job at the time and take those 6 months to lay the groundwork. I was at a big department store here in Toronto, like the equivalent of like a Nordstrom.
Okay.
And I was rifling through a men's underwear section of a big brand just to see if they had different leg lengths of men's underwear. So,
Okay.
because I actually wanted to find a pair of underwear that I could wear. At this point, I wasn't even interested in starting a business. I was like, let me just find what I'm looking for so I can solve my problem.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget a salesperson who was visiting, who was one of the, I guess she's a rep that came to check on the department store layout and whatnot. She sort of sees me rifling through the men's underwear and she comes over and she sort of whispers in my ear in like a hushed tone. And she was like an older woman. She's like, hey, sweetie, like, are you shopping for yourself or your boyfriend? And I look around, I'm like, "Did she just ask me if I was shopping for myself?" And I said, I'm like, "Do you find a lot of women in here looking for themselves?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, people are always looking for long leg underwear that
Oh
they
my
can't find in women's." And I was like, light
ding,
bulb
ding,
above
ding,
head. I'm
ding.
like,
Yep.
"Ding, ding, ding." Yeah, I'm like, "There's an idea here." And so, that's how the idea for the business, those are little stories that I tell that
Yeah.
validated the idea. I mean, same thing when I was knocking on doors, literally going to these bra fitting boutiques and specialty lingerie boutiques in Toronto, asking if they sold a product like this, if they got asked by their customers for a product like this. And the
Yeah.
answer was always an overwhelming yes. And again, I couldn't figure out why isn't anyone doing this? And the irony is, I did try to reach out to Spanx, which is ironic given our whole shapewear conversation.
Yes.
But I thought at the time in my naivete that I could potentially get some advice from Sarah Blakely and pay her for some advice on how to start an undergarment brand. And I did it. I have a post about this on my socials actually, where I screenshot the actual email that I sent. It's so cringe right now when I think about it.
Did you hear back?
Did I what?
Did you hear back from anyone?
No, well, I did hear back with an autoresponder that
Right.
was basically like, "Please note that anything you submit in writing is now the property of Spanx."
You're
So
like,
I
"Great,
didn't
I've just
put
sold my idea."
yeah. Thankfully, I was smart enough not to put my idea, like, actually
Okay,
pen to paper, but
that
I
is smart.
did, I was asking for, her time, and I was offering to pay for her time because I felt there was this untapped market that Spanx wasn't going after.
Uh-huh.
And, it's interesting because we have started to see Spanx use anti-chafe in their marketing this summer, all these years later, because I think they're seeing the opportunity, but it is completely the antithesis for what we stand for. I mean, and again, kudos to Sarah Blakely and the empire she's built,
Yes.
um, because she's offering products that women want. But it would definitely, yeah, it would be tricky to navigate that. I think now when I think about everything we stand for, I don't know how we
Mhm.
fit into Spanx's umbrella. Yeah, and you know what? And I don't know. I don't know. I have nothing more to say about that without getting into trouble.
I know. Before when I mentioned wearing shapewear at the wedding, I was like, "Oh, it was Spanx." I'm like, "Is it okay to say that?" I don't know. I mean,
I
look,
feel like I mean, they're like the Kleenex of shapewear, right?
yeah,
Like, we use
yeah.
when we say Spanx, we're sort of encompassing every single brand that
Yes,
does shapewear.
yes.
And like I said, no shade, and actually I've learned, I think over the years that there are a lot of women out there that wear it for compression when they
Mhm.
have, skin conditions or
Yes,
just, things that make them just feel better,
yes,
not even from a confidence perspective, just from a pain
yes,
reduction perspective where those compression
yeah,
undergarments can be super helpful.
yeah. I think it's
Um,
just I
yeah.
think it's just about giving people choices, and I
Yes,
think that
options.
the absence of this product before you brought it into existence, it was like, "Well, I wear underwear or I have to wear something for compression
Yeah.
for maybe a functional purpose like you just mentioned, or maybe because I need to be smaller or this cellulite doesn't look good or this belly roll doesn't look good and there's
Yes.
something wrong with me."
Yeah,
And now it's like, well, yes, and there's reasons and times and places where that product is right, but then there's
yeah,
also a space for this functional product, which is just about how I feel in my body and being comfortable
yeah,
and being myself as I am and
yep,
kind of embracing something that I thought was a problem, right? Because I can imagine women, it never occurred to me to look in a men's underwear section, but I'm imagining
mm.
like, and she comes up and whispers to you, I love that story because there probably is like, there's shame around it.
There
Like, am
was,
I the only one that this is happening to?
right?
And then I'm kinda, like, jumping around, but when you said that no one in all these 7 years, no one else, because 'cause I'm sure in the back of your head, you're like, "Well, shit, what if some other big brand comes out with this and I've lost my
Yeah, no,
chance?"
no.
That is fascinating to me that
Yeah,
nobody was looking at this because it wasn't look, and maybe this is my bias because of what I do, but it wasn't about aesthetics, it wasn't about body size, it wasn't about how someone looked, and I think when people think about women's fashion and undergarments, it's like, oh, a push-up bra or a minimizer bra or a back fat smoother or, all of that. Not about just comfort and like I'm just gonna say embodiment. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah, it's just being comfortable in the skin you're in
yes.
and allowing you to just live your life, right?
Yeah.
Because we our products solve for so much more than chafe, which is it's crazy because I invented the product concept to prevent chafe specifically, but
Mhm.
we like I said earlier, there's so many other use cases that people will put these shorties on for, and
Mhm.
also just for sweat management. I mean, we can't control a body's going to sweat. Bodies are
Yes.
normal.
Yes.
Bodies sweat. Full
Yes.
stop.
Yes.
But if you want to be drier down there, right, or you don't want to have sweaty butt and leave a butt imprint on the chair, which is, by
Yes.
the way, totally normal because bodies sweat.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, here's just a comfortable option to say, okay, we can help you with that.
Yes.
We can help
Yeah. It
without
normal
making
yeah.
people feel bad.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
normalizes all the things that we've had shame around or that women like, it's cool for guys to sweat, but women like, "Ooh, no, don't show you, like, your
Right.
butt sweat after your workout."
Right,
Um,
exactly. Ugh, the double standard.
yeah, yeah, I just started wearing them to like, for fitness for my dance class. I
Yay!
think they're the originals, like, the slightly thicker ones, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"They're
they are.
awesome."
Yes, I'm biased, but I wear them to work out all the time and
Yeah,
for dance class.
yeah.
Yeah, I wear them all the time. Yeah,
And I love and
love
with
them.
we haven't talked about this yet. I mean, it makes it's so obvious as to why, but obviously you show such a wide range of body types, right? There's such
Mhm,
huge
mhm.
representation,
Yes,
which is amazing. And there's more of that happening, but
yes.
definitely not enough.
No,
And it's just it's feels so good to see that.
thank you. Yeah, that was another intention, I would say, when I started the business
Wow.
because of the stigmatization of this perfectly normal skin condition that I knew had nothing to do with weight. I mean, in some cases it might have to do with weight, but it's not to the exclusion of everything else.
Right.
I thought it was really important that we offered a size range that was not just plus size. And so we started from, I mean, our size range has expanded over the years as we've been
Mhm.
able to afford to, buy more inventory in different sizes. And now we offer sizes extra small to 6X, which is one of
Okay.
the biggest size ranges out there.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and I definitely would like to expand that in both directions as time goes on.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, and we see that a lot. Actually, it's funny. We do a lot of advertising online on
Mhm.
Meta, and when we use models who appear to be more straight size or who are somewhere between the ranges, let's say of a size 2 and a size 6,
Mhm.
we get so much hate on our ad comments from people who are just being introduced to the brand. Like, you don't
Interesting.
even know what thigh chafing is if you're showing a skinny model. And, our customer service team is amazing, our social team's amazing, and they're in there in the comments like, "Actually, did you know that thigh chafing
Mhm.
can happen to people of any weight or size," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like it's so core to our mission to feature women of all sizes, but it's so interesting that we get backlash from people of all sizes, sort of saying like, "That's not true. People like you don't understand your target customer." And it's like, actually, we really do understand our target customer.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
everybody
Yeah.
potentially,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So,
There's
yeah, I think
I find
that's
that sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking it was just having an inclusive size range and showcasing diversity
Mhm.
was a core tenet of the brand since we launched in 2009. Like
Yeah.
we were, I had been inspired by so much of what I was seeing in the early days of the quote unquote body positivity movement,
Mhm.
which has evolved over time. And, now we talk more about body neutrality. And I guess, there's all kinds of ways we can digress into conversations about that.
Yeah.
But I was very inspired by showcasing women in particular in our ads and in our marketing back in 2009 anyway,
Mhm.
who were not represented
Mhm.
typically in brand marketing. And so, yeah, I'm really proud about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember when I first heard about the brands or how. I think someone told me about it, and then all of a sudden I started seeing it everywhere, but it was only a couple of years ago. So
Hmm.
in 2009, for sure, I mean, you had to be one of the first brands representing a wide range of
Mhm.
body types. Like it wasn't, I mean, I know Somersault has been big in that space, but that's really only been within the last couple of years.
Mhm. And
Um,
we were tiny in 2009 too. I mean, we've
yeah,
really only we hit
yeah.
our stride closer to like 2016, so
Okay.
17. So
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, what you mentioned about, people kind of criticizing people in more kind of straight or smaller bodies is,
Yep.
and I find this in my work is body, and this kind of pertain negative body image affects everybody.
100%.
It's not just people in bigger bodies. People in bigger
Mhm.
bodies are underrepresented and absolutely have different challenges, but people in smaller bodies suffer from negative body image as well. And I think that's something I continually remind myself. Right. I'm a size 12, 14, so right on
Mhm.
the upper end borderline of straight
Mhm.
size plus sizing.
Mhm.
And also, have thin privilege that someone
Yeah.
who's a size 18, 20, 22 does not have.
Yeah.
And have, you know, publicly speak about my body image struggles, right? Even at,
Yeah.
considered to have, that type of thin privilege. So
Yep.
it's interesting all the places that shows up.
Yep. Totally. I mean, someone asked me a couple weeks ago what impact my like struggles with eating and body image had on the
Mhm.
business. I mean, it undoubtedly helped shape my entire approach to the business
Yeah.
because yeah, like I had yo-yo diet. I mean, I was on a diet since I was 12. I mean, I had a pediatrician tell me I was fat when I was 12
Wow.
years old. I have diary entries in my cute little diary. So sad. It breaks my heart to read it now, but where I'm talking, you could see the shift of like from one day I'm writing about all the fun pizza parties I'm having with my friends
Mhm.
at their birthdays
Mhm.
to like calorie counting and like Weight Watchers tracking and like oh so yeah I was a disordered eater for from 12 until probably 30 I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Do
yeah.
you find that actually it makes me think, are tween and teen girls wearing the product wearing Thigh Society?
So yeah, it's interesting. The short answer is yes, and I'd love to get more of them into Thigh Society. A lot of my
Yeah.
friends' daughters, a lot of my friends will send me pictures of their daughters wearing the products because
Yeah.
they've bought them for them because they just want some modesty undergarments
Yeah.
underneath whatever they're wearing. They don't need shapewear. I mean, they're
Yeah.
like 12 and
Yeah.
13,
Yeah.
and sometimes a little bit older than that. But yeah, and I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to do more teen focused
Yeah.
marketing. Just and even for little kids, right? Like my niece, wears a school uniform, and those short skirts come with little shorties underneath, but they're not
Mhm.
seamless, they're not necessarily breathable. They're
Yep.
very, very basic, right? They're just very
Yeah.
basic shorts. But I'd love to be able to provide
Yeah.
for that market too, because I just think they're a no-brainer, Thigh Society. Like they're just,
Totally. Well,
yeah.
and also just like to all the things we talked about normalizing, like normalizing at a younger age, right?
Oh yeah, for
Is just so
sure.
powerful.
For sure. For sure. For sure. I mean, I hope this generation is better set up, this younger generation now than we ever were, right?
Mhm.
With our, I mean, yeah, I just think about like Bridget Jones's Diary, shaming her, and
My God.
17 magazine, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things on the internet now that are coming up on socials where people are like, and this is why this generation has body
Yes.
image issues.
Yes.
It's like,
My
no
son and
kidding.
I, my son is 11, and we're
Yeah.
watching Friends together,
Oh
and there's a
God.
lot of stuff that goes over his head, but there's a
Oh my.
lot that's really funny, and then
Mhm.
there's Fat Monica.
So I know, so
Oh
problematic,
my god.
crazy.
My wha we had he and I had a whole conversation about it.
Hmm.
They show her in this flashback, and I'm like, "She's like a size 14." And I watched that show. It came on in 1994. I was 14 years old. I watched
Hmm.
it for the 10 years it was on. I loved
Yep.
that show. I idolized Jennifer Aniston, and it was like, well, if you don't look like Jennifer Aniston, then you're, quote, fat, and
Hmm.
that's bad, and no one will like
Totally.
you. The number of jokes about fat people, and I'm saying the word fat in the way that they used it,
Yes.
and knowing that, like, they were using it in a derogatory way, and
Hmm.
knowing that now
Hmm.
we're trying to use it in a more neutral way, but
For
it
sure.
just is mind-blowing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, well, obviously, that played a huge role in an unconscious way as to how I was
Hmm.
perceiving my own body, because I was always I was like this I went from, like, being a size 6 when I was, like, 10, and then I was just a size 12. I don't
Right.
know, there was never an
Yeah.
in-between for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insidious.
It really is. I mean, and there's still so much of that insidiousness today. I mean, you see less of that overt fat shaming in the media. I mean,
Yes.
although there's debatable, with
Yeah.
movies coming out, I'm not going to name names, but like, yeah, there's still a lot of that. I like to point out to people little things where you see like brands that
Mhm.
have, skinny in the name, or,
Mhm.
less guilt, or, things like that,
Yep.
where all of these messages are very subliminal, and what they're telling you every
Yes.
single time is, mind yourself, fat is bad, you don't want to get fat.
Yep.
It's all this, it's terrible, people aren't even conscious of it, and so then you
Mhm.
wonder why we live in such a fat phobic society, because so much of it is like, I mean, lots of it is still very overt,
Yes.
but there's so much of it that's still allowed to seep in, and I think it
Yeah.
does seep in.
It
And so yeah,
absolutely
it's my
does.
it's my goal to just, I call things out when I see them, and I hope people can become more aware of it, right? The
Yes.
more it's almost like it's conditioning yourself to become aware,
Mhm.
rather than, and then otherwise you'll miss it. You'll completely miss it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
How did you this kind of speaks to I was curious about where you came up with the name Thigh Society. Were there other names? Like, what did you want
Yeah.
it to communicate? Like, what was that piece like?
Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna disappoint some people, but the short answer is my friend's husband came up with it.
Okay.
I had initially come up with a bunch of other names. The front runner was Thigh Candy,
Okay.
but upon doing a Google search of that, it did not get the results I was hoping for. They were a little, R-rated.
Got it.
So I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to compete with that.
Yeah.
And so we were with some friends in our living room, talking about possible names one afternoon, because I had a list of like, I don't know, 20. And we were talking about puns, because I love puns. And so does this friend's husband. And he was the one who came up with it. Like, what about a play on High
Thigh
Society?
Society. Yeah.
Like High Society. And I thought, oh my God, I think that's going to work. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. And so, yeah, I actually was able to get the URL thighsociety.ca at the time. But believe it or not, thighsociety.com was owned by somebody else. And so we did not own the .com. I think I finally got it in 2014, because you could find
Oh,
out who owns
yes.
certain websites. And I reached out to the guy, and I don't know what his story was. He was just some guy, I think, who had bought a bunch of domains and was just parked them and was sort
Yeah.
of holding out for a big payout. And so I emailed him and he asked me for some crazy number back. And I was like, hell to the no, I'm not doing that. And, a year went by and I touched base with him again. Hey, are you interested in renewing? And no. And then I think it was the third year that finally I was like, hey, what's your price? And because we were starting to grow at that point in the US, and I thought, I
Okay.
can't have a .ca. It's just, I need to have two. I need to have both. I need to have
Yeah.
a Canadian site and an American one. And finally ended up purchasing that domain name from him for the .com.
The
Yeah.
two things I want just the 7 years you spent, and you
Yeah.
just mentioned it took 3 years to even get the website. Like, I
Yeah.
just it was such a long time,
Oh
right?
yeah, it was a really long
It's a
time.
really long time, and this is not really necessarily related to anything specific that we're talking about, except
Yeah.
that, like, things that you love and things that you care about and change, like, take a long time, and we think
Right?
things are, like, overnight successes, right? And
No.
it's just not, and, like, your tenacity and perseverance with this is just really amazing, like, because
Thank you.
like, I feel like I sound like a fangirl, but, like, it is, like, a life-changing product, and
Yeah.
just to know what you went through to make it happen, and it was
Yeah.
self-funded, I mean, it's like, "Oh my god, holy shit, this is incredible."
Yes. Yes, thank you. It has been my life for the last 14 years,
Yeah,
it's a passion project at the same time as being now obviously a full-fledged business.
yeah,
And things do take time. I think, for anyone out there who's thinking about starting a business or has an
mhm,
idea or is already in business, I think we're fed one narrative by the media about, overnight successes,
yep,
unicorns, and like that's not the majority. I mean, kudos to those people and those entrepreneurs. It's amazing, but for most of us, it's not necessarily always about that. And
mhm,
you can build something that is meaningful, um, profitable, successful, enjoyable, impactful,
mhm,
on your own terms. It may not look like something else it may not look like that narrative, but
right,
it doesn't have to be. There's
yes,
so many different permutations and combinations of entrepreneurs out there, and I think the more stories we hear, the more accepted that reality is going to be. And what's right, the way I built my business may be the complete opposite of how someone else would have
right,
built theirs with the same exact products, right?
yeah,
So, yeah, I just sort of focus on here and now and think, touch wood, knocking my head to be lucky that they stuck with it because
yeah,
there were some tough times for sure. It's a tough business, apparel, inventory forecasting. We have to do that 6 months ahead of time. How are we going to know what's going to sell? And
right,
I have an amazing, amazing CFO, COO who's incredible, and an amazing team in general. But yeah, it's a tough business to be in. I mean, all business is tough to be in, and
yeah,
you never,
yeah,
if you're running your own business, it's always on your mind, right? So you can't not think about it.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's, like, part of who you are.
part of who you are. But
Yeah,
on those tough days, like I always say this, it'll never change for me. It's always about the customers. It's always whenever I'm like having a moment, I will go literally read our reviews. They're public on our website. I will read the reviews and I will feel this instant high of this lift
yes,
immediately. Like,
yes,
this is why we're doing this.
yes,
We're doing this because people need these products.
yes,
These products are game changers. So yeah, that's what keeps me going. And I think it's important to have that in whatever you do, even if you're working in a corporate job, just to be like, hey, what am I doing to make a difference?
yes,
Or not. I mean, some people, listen, there's nothing wrong with having a job that you clock in and out of. I think we're
yeah,
also sold this narrative that you have to be passionate all the time about everything. And it's
yes,
like, okay, no, work doesn't have to be your identity,
yeah, yeah.
So
What do you I mean, I don't know to the extent that you can share, like, what do you envision for the company, or where do you want it to go? I know those are, like, weird, big, lofty questions that you probably get asked
yeah,
all
that's
the
a
time.
big well, I mean, I guess the way I described, Spanx earlier and Kleenex, Spanx
Mhm.
is like synonymous with shapewear and Kleenex is synonymous with tissue, even though
Yep.
there's other brands. I would love for Thigh Society to be synonymous with, you know, slip shorts or
Yes.
boxer briefs for women or long leg underwear for women or,
Yeah.
even anti-chafe underwear in general for men and
Mhm.
women.
Mhm.
So that's sort of the big audacious hairy goal in the
I
future.
I love
That's
it.
the audacious hairy goal. And then there's lots that has to happen before that.
Yes. There was I know, I mean, I didn't try them, but I had a client, I think I had told her about them, and she bought, like, a imitation pair on Amazon.
Okay.
I'm sure I don't know if you've tried
Oh, I
them.
know what's on
I'm
Amazon.
sure you do,
Mhm.
yeah, and she was like, "They were terrible." She was like, "So then I
Yeah.
went and bought the real thing." I'm like, "Okay, so not real."
Yay. Yeah.
Um, So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's easy on the surface, like, the product is not simple in
Mhm,
design, but it is simple in appearance, and
mhm.
what people don't necessarily always understand is, yes, we do have some, like, copycats on Amazon, but they're not doing the fitting on real bodies, they're not
Right,
grading according to, plus size grading and, the whole gamut of product testing to ensure this is gonna fit well on
right.
real people. We also have lots of leg length options because we acknowledge that the leg length, could depend based on how your body's built,
Mhm.
size. I mean, the quality of our yarns is bar none. I mean, I'm not gonna yeah, we definitely offer a premium product for a reason.
For sure. Yeah, yeah.
And that was again very intentional when I started, because I had had the experience of like one size fits all type of brands
Mhm.
where I was buying like leggings, for example, or those like bandeau tops where I'm like, one size fits all is really one size fits one,
Yes,
maybe two,
yes,
right? And for everybody else, if you imagine a bell curve and you're on like any end of the bell curve, forget about it. Like you're
yes.
not going to get a great fit out of that.
Yeah.
And that's annoying. And I had had the experience even with buying bike shorts of things riding up on me or rolling down. I mean, and there's
Mhm.
nothing more awkward than having to adjust, looking around to see if anyone's staring at you and you're like sort of adjusting yourself underneath your skirts and dresses. Like no one wants to do that. So I
Yeah,
was like, I got to put something out there that I can be proud of, that people love,
yeah.
So
But and just, like, everything you shared, like, there's so much insight into, like, what really made that and, like, what the experience is of being in your body and wearing these different garments and what it
yes.
feels like and addressing all of those seemingly little issues or challenges or
Yeah.
annoyances, but that really make a huge difference in, like, how you feel when you're,
Yes.
like, fully dressed and wearing whatever it is that you wanna wear.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
the little things make the biggest impact.
Definitely. I think you can do that when you're I mean, I think you can do that when you're a small company for sure
Mhm.
because you have the smaller team and the time and attention, but I
Yeah.
think you can still do that as a larger organization, and I think there are some great brands out there that are doing that, that are really taking customer feedback into account as they do their design and offering better fitting clothing on the whole, but
Mhm.
it can be hard to do at scale, but something I feel lucky about is that yeah, I did come into this very intentionally and we made sure to test on different body types. We still do
Mhm.
because we don't want to just, slap something together and sell it. Like that's not and that's fine. There are brands that are doing that,
Right.
but we are definitely very deliberate and intentional. We always put our customer first at the
Mhm.
center of everything we do.
Mhm.
And I always say I was customer 0. I don't represent all of our
Yeah.
customers because I'm like one size,
Right.
but hey, like I get it. I needed this
Yes.
product. This is
Yes.
why I created this brand.
Yeah.
So,
It's like if you feel seen by this
yeah.
by this, and
Aw, that means so
that's
much.
really special. Yeah.
Thank you. I could not ask for more.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I appreciate your time and sharing your story and like the little tidbits, like the little insider of what this was like. It's just fun and just awesome. And really thank you for your time, but thank you for creating this, for the work and everything that you do because it's really been life-changing for me and I know for a lot of other people as well.
That means the world. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.